You guys really wanted a tutorial for the butterfly mesh top, so today I'm going to give it to you. You may have seen the pink one I've made in the things I made with Novelty Yarn short. The yarn from this was from a fabric store, but today I'm going to be using yarn that can be found on Amazon, so I'll link it below. I also want to make a quick disclaimer, I'm not a professional sewist. The main purpose of this project was to find creative ways to use this material, which many crafters have commented that they don't know what to use it for.
Where have I seen this before?
Some of you have said that you still have some in your stash from when these scarves were really trendy. So this isn't super technical, but I'll do my best to show all the steps so you can follow along. I think it's great as a summer top and even better as a swim cover. I like to wear it over a tank top or a bathing suit. So let's get started. For materials you'll need mesh yarn. I use less than 50 grams, so it'll be a lot less than one skein. Measuring tape, a sewing machine and matching thread. And I'm going to be using this dress form since it'll make fitting it a lot easier, but if you don't have one, you can try it on and use safety pins. Starting on the bust, this was made with sewed tubes that have open channels in the ends for the tie cord. First, I'm going to measure what the yarn is curled up. So I just picked this light blue section, which is 7 inches. Now I'll measure it when it's open. You can iron it on low heat or just stretch it open with your hands. I prefer to iron it since it makes it easier.
Well, no duh.
So I'll measure across, which is 5 inches and 4 inches in height. Now divide your first length by the second length. For me, this is 1.4. Now I'll multiply this by my bust measurement for when the yarn is pulled taut because this will be longer. Basically, we want this length to equal your bust measurement when the yarn is unfurled and stretched open. So my bust measurement was 34 inches and times 1.4, I will get 47.6 inches. Here are my calculations. Get ready to screenshot in case you want to fill it with your own. I'll measure out the taut length of yarn and then I'll double it up since it'll be a tube without cutting the middle. Now I'll iron this open so it's easier to see. And I'm going to fold it in half and sew the ends together. Use a backstitch at the start and end of your seam. For my sewing machine settings, I'm using an all-purpose needle and a Z-stitch with 2 width and 12 length. Here's what it looks like on a test fabric. Now I'll refold my strip so that the seam is in the middle. And I'm going to sew 1 inch from the end on both sides so that there's these 2 channels left open. While I'm working, I'll try to stretch the yarn open so that the edges are aligned and it's around the same height as when it was stretched out, so 4 inches. I put some painter's tape on the machine to help visualize it. I started 1 inch from the top and I'm working all the way down to stop 1 inch before the bottom. So I have that little space on both sides. And then I'm going to flip it around and do the same on the other side. This first tube is done and I just need to turn it out. I'll pull this inside out from the little channel so that the seams are on the inside. And I'll make 2 more, so I'll make 3 in total. I'll sew the first 2 strips together, again keeping these channels open. Once you've sewn the first 2, make sure that your seam for any others is on the same side. I'm sewing the 3rd strip to this. Once that's done, you can add the tie cord. Cut another length for the tie, mine was 3 feet, and using a crochet hook you can feed it through the channels and pull it through for both sides. At this point you'd want to try it on or put it on your dress form to make sure it's the tightness you want. The yarn has a lot of stretch, so you might still want to make adjustments to get a better fit.
It's better to start with more rather than less.
I ended up taking it in the back. For finishing the raw edge, I cut about 1 centimeter from the seam and then sewed it with a Z-stitch. For the straps, you'll only need 2 tubes, except these will only need the channel on one side because the other side will be sewn to the back. These both have the channel here. To make it easier for myself, I just made an extra strap from before and cut it in half. You may want to take the tie cord out for this part. Now sew a 4-inch section 1 inch from the end. This is to attach the strap along the bust. And I'm aiming to line up the channels with the other straps. And I'll do the same with the second one. And now I'll put the tie cord back in and put it on my dress form. I'm going to position the straps where I want them to sit. To take care of this raw edge, I folded it over and sewed this down. And then I did the same for the other side. And now you can sew them to the back of the top. The hardest part of the top is all done now. You can really just have fun with the bottom tier. When I first made the butterfly top, I actually just used leftover pieces and tried to position it in an interesting way. I like doing it at an angle and wrapping it around the back to give it that wing effect. For how I made mine, I sewed 2 short tubes from cutting 9-inch strips and doubling it up. These guys don't need channels, so I folded it in half and sewed from start to end on both sides. You can turn it inside out from the open end. Now doing the same, I'll make 2 medium strips that are about 14 inches. And then 1 long strip that will go around the back and attach to the 2 sides. This was the same length as the bust strips. Now I'm positioning how I want the straps to sit next to each other. I decided I want the middle one's end to be offset by like 2 inches. So I'm going to sew that together on both sides. After it was sewn together, I cut off the excess from the middle section because it was more than I needed. And then for the long strap, I sewed the end to the start of each side so that it makes a U. This is because it'll loop around the back. So the shape will be like this once it's done. Now I'm pinning it to the bust to see where I want the bottom tier to attach. I slipped the fabric underneath the bust near the front of the top, behind where the channels are, and then I angled the long end towards the back and pinned these so I know where to attach it. And I'll do the same for the other side. So both of these are kind of at a 45-degree angle with the rest of the top. And now I'll sew it down. This time I'm sewing it from the front. And I'll repeat that on the other side. Since there was lots of excess fabric, I also cut that and sewed the raw edge with a Z-stitch. And for the back wraparound, you can leave it down like I did for this one, or you could sew it to the top, but I think I actually prefer it down, so you can go off of whatever you think looks better. And that's all there is to it. If there are any loose ends or raw edges to clean up, I would do that now, but your top is all done. If you followed along, I'd love to see what you guys made. You can tag me on Instagram at Kim's Threads, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.